So these days, there are some really advanced fire alarm systems out there. In front of me, I have a bunch of speakers and speaker strobes. These are mostly found on fire alarm systems that have enhanced features like voice evacuation, or they play different tones to enunciate different events that are happening. Honestly, I prefer to do work on these types of systems, but there is one thing that I don't like about speaker strobes. And that is that people always think that because it's a speaker, it automatically needs an extension ring. Now, depending on the speakers that you deal in, that is true, but some of the newer ones, this is actually not true. These ones over here, I will show you all of these, but these ones over here, I will show you, these ones do need them. As you can see, this one, this, I guess you could call it a cone. This thing is massive, so this one absolutely does need that extension. As you can see right there, it's got space, and then if you look at it from the back, you can see you've got plenty of space back there. So honestly, you could do with just a shallow foursquare and then a shallow extension ring if you wanted. That would be totally fine. I have seen that done. Now, just doing it with a deep foursquare is not enough. You can see, like, that's definitely touching the back of that. If that were to scrape any of those wires, it would throw a ground fault onto your system, and if it stayed there long enough, you could probably get a red tag. So like, and this is one of those where, like, you know, even if it's in a hard deck area and it's raised enough above the ceiling, you could make it work, but if there's that much space between it and the bottom of the ceiling, then just add an extension ring. This one does absolutely need it. Same with most of the older Wheelock, except for the E60. The E60 doesn't actually need an extension ring. You could just use a deep foursquare and it would work. This one will almost work on that, but as you can see, it is actually touching that transformer right there, and there's still a lot of space. So this is another one, like, even if it's in a hard deck and it's, you know, touching the top lip of the ceiling, I still wouldn't recommend it. So these two, I would say, yes, you absolutely need an extension ring for them. Whether it's just, you know, 2.5-inch boxes, just two shallow foursquares, and then the extension ring, you know, that would be fine. Now with these ones over here, these ones are a bit newer. I'll show you the Spectraler Advanced speaker strobe, the Edwards speaker strobe, and then there I have a newer Wheelock speaker strobe, and then a newer Autocall speaker strobe, or just a speaker. So putting this back on here, and then putting this on here, you can see that is absolutely humongous. And especially if this is on a wall, you know, that's just absolutely crazy. And look how much space there is. Like, look how far my finger can go. Like, that's like a solid 2 inches of space. Like, you do not need that much space. So, like, these ones, they absolutely will just work on a regular foursquare, as I will show you. Alright, so you see, you just get that secured, and there is plenty of space for your wires. If you just want to coil them up, like, you know, along one of the sides, absolutely do that. Or if you like do it at the back of the box, do that too. Now, if you look at it with the shallow extension ring, which is the same size as a shallow foursquare, the back would actually be like, you know, exactly this part right here. You can see it won't quite work. Like I said, unless it's like, you know, recessed a little bit, kind of like that. But yeah, just because, you know, slider brackets are not always perfect, so it might not be perfectly flush with the wall or the ceiling, and that's all right. You know, it doesn't have to be like squarely on the box, you know, because those things will not bend. So like, if you tighten the screws too much, you'll end up bending the base, and then it's not going to sit on there very nice, so don't do it. Next one is going to be this Edwards speaker strobe. This one definitely looks compact enough to work with one of these, and if you look, oh, just barely. So even if this one is just like a little bit recessed, you absolutely could do it just like this. And this goes for the Edwards, the ceiling speaker strobes as well. So yeah, if it's like, you know, maybe a 1/4 inch back from the wall, you absolutely could. And you can see a bit better, you know, exactly where you could have space to coil the wires. So you could do it around like the outside of the box, and then just land them on the speaker and then the strobe. Remember, there's going to be 4 wires that go to this, and unless you have your end of line in here, you're going to have you know, one coming in and then one going to the next device. So you'll have quite a bit of wires in here, and those wires do take up space. But with this, if you end up switching over to this, then there's plenty of space, and you don't really have anything to worry about. So this one you don't need an extension ring for either. So now we're going to move on to this Wheelock Alexa series speaker strobe. This one, you can see it's absolutely massive. It sticks below the ceiling like 2 inches, but because of that, the back of it is very, very compact. And this one, I'm pretty sure, is actually compact enough to sit on that. Yes, it is. Now I will say, you know, along with these other two, this is one of those things that I would say is a just because you can doesn't mean you necessarily should. Because, you know, you'll have your wire coming into the box, and then it has to, you know, go down here and then do a 90 into the screw terminals, as you can see right here. And most of the time it's going to be solid wire, it's not going to be stranded. So you do have to be careful whenever you're putting it up, just to make sure you don't scratch the wires, especially on this thing. But with this, you've got more than enough space for your wires. So this one, awesome. This one is probably the most compact of all of them. And now we've got a newer device. Can anyone tell who made this one? Well, I said it earlier, but this one is an AutoCall speaker, which is just off-brand Simplex these days. That's what AutoCall is nowadays, since they're both owned by JCI, and then JCI relaunched the brand. Anyway, so go ahead and put this on here, and you'll see the protective film on the transformer sticks up, so you won't be able to do this with a shallow box, but you can absolutely do it with a deep box. And yeah, it sticks up a little bit because the screws are in here, but with that you can see there's definitely space. And like I said, you know, there's space around here to just coil the wires up and then just go straight to it. Now, the only thing I don't like about this one is that it's, I guess you could say, head wired, where you have to take the whole device down in order to access the wires. Which that's actually the case with this one, and this one. You know, you have to take the cover off and you have to take the screws out in order to take this down. That is very annoying about these, as opposed to having these keyhole screw slots, and that's also the case with this one. So you can't just, like, you know, turn it and then pull it off like you can these other ones. So that is something that annoys me about Simplex and older, slightly older Wheelock, even though this one's fairly new, brand new actually. So yeah, but you know, as you can see, works absolutely fine. And you might notice this is a remote speaker, but it's still got 4 terminals on the back, and that's because you need your addressable NAC line to tell it when to turn on and when to turn off, and then you have your audio that goes to it. The speaker line is still conventional, so that is something to note about these things. But other than that, these are awesome. And then there's an LED right here to tell you when it's polling, and I got this wonderful black cover for it. Looks really, really nice. And right here is a white cover, TrueAlert ES. And unfortunately, AutoCall doesn't have the addressable True Alert speakers. They only have conventional, and then they have True Alert ES. They don't have True Alert addressable, which there is a difference between True Alert addressable and True Alert ES. Simplex does have them though. So you'll see the addressable version of this, which will look exactly the same, and then you'll have the True Alert ES with Simplex as well. So with all these are the only two that you absolutely need extension rings for, or just like a custom deep box. These other ones you can do just a deep 4-square and you'll be good. This one, I would recommend it, but you could make it work on a shallow one. And the Spectral Alert Advance, and this also applies to the L series because the backs of them, they all look exactly the same. You know, you just coil your wires around the outside. Like, you have to be one really dumb mother in order to scratch the wires when you're putting one of these up, because, you know, this plastic, it's very soft. You can see it's beveled, it's rounded around the edges. Like, there is just no way that you could possibly get a ground fault on one of these. Like, see, there's plenty of space back there. Yeah, I mean, that thing might look a bit large, but it's really not, you know. Just coil your wires around the outside, and if you do have a problem, then, you know, look at your wire management skills. You know, start trying things to get better at it. You know, there's always something that you can do in order to make your work look better. And I'll do a video on that at some point. I will show a demonstration of one of these that has the wires in it. So I got this one wired up with some scrap wire that I had. So if I just take this off of here, just take this off of the box, see, this is how it should look. Okay, if you do it like this, you will never need an extension ring for one of these. So as you can see, you just gotta kind of push those down just like that, and when you put the device on, it'll go on very easily, just like that. You see, perfectly flat. Can't have the screws screwing it to the box too tight, because then you'll bend the plate and then it won't look nice against the wall. But this one absolutely will. So it's very easy. You know, once you've done it enough, you know, just coil it around the box, around the outside, just so this has no room in order to, you know, scuff any of the wires. You know, it's kind of a reference point right there, you can see. So yeah, anyway, that's it for this one. Just wanted to kind of put this out there because this is something that I feel very strongly about. I have a very strong opinion on this matter. So yeah, hope this was helpful to any of you who feel the same way. Definitely pitch this, just so you know you don't have to do twice the work and then your company doesn't have to spend twice the money, especially if you make the ceiling hangers with extension rings. If you have to do it so that you have to use two hangers, like, you know, one holding hanger like that and then the extension ring on top, absolutely, that is the thing that I hate the most about it, and I absolutely refuse to do it that way. So if your company tries to make you do it like that, push back and just be like, no, let's get the right thing, because doing it that way is just incredibly ghetto. That's all I have to say about that. So if you can do it like this, awesome, absolutely do it. All right, that's it for this one. Hope y'all enjoyed, and I will talk to y'all real soon.